Hey guys, it's Kai. Today I'm going to be talking about Fire Emblem Heroes because they just released the new Choose Your Legends banner, which has an Ephraim on it, which means I have 3 Ephraims now. Ephraim is my favorite Fire Emblem character. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Ephraims. Let's see, we'll hop into the team editor. Let's start with the new guy. So I want to discuss some builds and team composition, that sort of stuff. Also, I apologize if you guys can hear the wind or anything outside. It's pretty windy and my windows are not super insulated. Hopefully you can look past it. But so the new guy has a really powerful, unique weapon in Garm, which is an axe that I'm really glad they finally put in the game. I love Garm. Gives him attack +3, and if he's been boosted by Hone or Rally or has Armor March or uses the armored boots, he's guaranteed to make a follow-up attack, which is super awesome. It's basically, Bold Fighter and Vengeful Fighter rolled into one, provided he gets a boost, which is super strong. I think his support skill, you can run Pivot or Swap. I prefer Pivot just to get that little bit of extra movement out of him. I think the best special for him is Ignis, but I think you can also run Aether or even Bonfire. I just think that Ignis has the best cooldown coupled with some cooldown reduction off of Special Fighter and everything. I think that his A skill, I have close defense on there right now because that's just what he came with, but I think Death Blow or Distant Counter are both really, really good on him, especially if he has an attack boosting nature for that Death Blow. And then Distant Counter is solid because it lets him do some work on the enemy phase. He also has pretty decent resistance, so he can take mage hits pretty well, so I think that makes Distant Counter more valuable. On his B, I think Special Fighter is the best skill for him. You could make a case for Bold Fighter to accelerate cooldowns, but Special Fighter, he already has the guaranteed follow-up on his unique weapon, so Special Fighter just gives him more potential for his own special, as well as takes away potential from the enemy special. It really is like a super powerful combination of guard and a fighter skill. And then on his C, he comes stock with Armor March, which is really cool. You could also just slap the armored boots on him. Alternatively, if you wanted to give him like a smoke skill or an attack wave, like an odd or even attack wave kind of thing, just to give him some extra potential, you could also throw a boost skill on there. I think the C slot is generally the most flexible skill slot. And then we already talked about Seal, Armored Boots. You could also do Close Defense or Distant Defense on him, depending on what kind of build you're going for. I would do Distant Defense if you're doing like Distant Counter, and then just stick to like the Armor March on C or something, because you definitely want to make sure you're ensuring those follow-up attacks. But yeah, this guy is crazy strong. I think he's amazing on armored teams or just paired with another armored. And like, look at the Wada Sachiko art for him. I love his battle skirt. God, what a good boy. I think he, like all the other Ephraims, pairs pretty well with Erica, because she does a lot of buff work for them. He's also definitely super valuable on teams that need a strong green. I know there are a lot of really strong, frail red units that would appreciate his support. Stuff like Aira, Carla, that sort of thing. Just because he tears through blues. He tears through most things, actually. Let's move on to slightly older, the legendary Lord Ephraim, he was my favorite Ephraim. I'm really leaning towards the new Ephraim as my favorite Ephraim, though, even though it is the variant and everything. I just think the art is so gorgeous and the unit is so good. But for this guy, he's got the Flame Siegmund, which again gives you that attack +3, and then this is, I think, the most interesting weapon in the game, in my opinion. If the number of foes within 2 spaces, excluding the target, is greater than or equal to the number of allies within 2 spaces, excluding the unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. So he guarantees his follow-up attacks if he is charging into battle alone like a crazy person, which is so flavorful. I think that is his best weapon choice, for sure. I think Reposition is hands down his best assist skill. As it is I think it's the best positioning skill. It's the default for a lot of units. I have Glimmer on him because of my Ivies. He's like plus HP minus speed or something like that, so his defense isn't as high. I would probably run Bonfire on him. You could also get away with like Luna or Aether, something like that. I've seen some people running Gale Force. I don't really like Gale Force, but I think it is cool to try and build a set around it. But Luna and Aether, I think, are also both super viable. His A skill is very flexible. I think Sturdy Stance, too, the thing that he comes with, is really solid, just because it gives him some good enemy phase presence, makes him a little tankier. But you could also run like Death Blow to really lean into player phase attack buffs. You could give him Distant Counter. You could give him even like Fury, because he has that unique B skill, Solar Brace, which I think is super viable. Speaking of B spells, I think Guard is probably his best option, but Solar Brace is really cool and can blend well with Fury, or just provide a little bit of extra healing. If you're running Aether as well, you can get a lot of mileage out of his tankiness. On the C, right now mine has Fortify Cavalry because he's on a cavalry team, but I think that like Attack Smoke is probably the best for like an Ephraim that's just out there on his own, not getting cavalry buffs or giving cavalry buffs. I think you could also justify him running a buff in the C slot. Again, C slot, pretty open. The seal I'm running on him is Attack Defense +2 because of his nature, but I think that a better option for a better-natured Ephraim would be something like Close Defense or Distant Defense, Quick Riposte, just so he gets some extra potential presence when he is. If you want to use like a different weapon, I think Quick Riposte is a good seal for him. Otherwise, the Flame Siegmund does enough work on its own without you having to worry about Quick Riposte. And then I think Heavy Blade is also a really good option for him, because, especially if you have a plus attack nature, because his attack gets huge with the Flame Siegmund. And then you could run, you could even, like, because of the Sturdy Stance, he gets extra attack bonuses and everything. The Death Blow makes it go crazy. Like, it's good shit. Let's move on to, and for team options, I think he does do well on cavalry teams, but he is a very weird unit in that he functions super well just like running off by himself. So I would say having a buffer like Erica is super solid, especially someone who can buff from 2 spaces away, 2 or more spaces away. And then I would say apart from that, he's pretty self-sufficient. Let's go on to the first Ephraim they released, the Restoration Lord. I recently got this guy with plus speed minus HP, which is an interesting nature for him because his speed is a super boon, but it still sucks. So trying to lean into it is it's been kind of fun for me to try and come up with a build. And you can see this guy's not even close to done because I'm still working through a whole bunch of stuff in my head. But I think the best builds for him are if you give him the Siegmund with the skill that it can come with that gives him a guaranteed follow-up attack at greater than at greater than 90%. I think it's like the Brash Assault one. Or you can give him the Flame Siegmund, because I think that's also super viable on him. It's just a really strong weapon, and if you want to have a unit that caters to that cool playstyle, he's also very good at it, because he is very naturally tanky. And then I think you could also make a case for just refining Siegmund with like speed or defense to patch up some skills or add some extra damage to like a Bonfire proc. For assists, I think Reposition is good, but I advocate a lot for the Rally skills, especially on Ephraim and Erica, since with Rally they're the only 2 units in the game who can buff all 4 stats, because their weapons give Hone Attack, which is super cool. So I run Rally, but especially if you're doing like a Flame Siegmund build or leaning into a more offensive build, I would say Reposition is the better choice. For the special, I think Bonfire, Moonbow, Glimmer, or Aether are all good. Moonbow is very consistent, and if you're not like a plus defense nature or leaning into his defense all that much, I think it's probably the safest bet. But Aether builds on him are really cool, again, because of that natural tankiness. His A slot, I think the best option is usually Fury, but you could also make a case for Steady Breath, Distant Counter, Death Blow. Fury really amps up his stat block, and especially like for the plus speed nature that I have, I think Fury is pretty necessary. But Steady Breath gives him that extra mileage on his proc, so if you're running Aether with Steady Breath, it's really strong. Distant Counter gives him some more presence on the enemy phase, which is awesome. Death Blow, especially if you're using the Flame Segment. Flame Segment plus Death Blow, pretty much a guaranteed follow-up. Like, that's a classic combination that I've seen. Almost every Ephraim I've encountered uses that, because you generally want like a plus attack, minus speed, or something like that. For his B skill, I think Lancebreaker or Swordbreaker if you really need him if your team is really weak to reds. I think Quick Riposte is also really good on him. Wrath is really good on him. Wrath is really good on almost everybody. You could also make a case for Vantage, just to give him a little bit of extra enemy phase presence, which I think is kind of an interesting build. And then on the C skill, I always run Hone Speed, because that way I'm doing Rally Defense Resistance, Hone Attack on the weapon, and then Hone Speed on the C. But I think you can fill in the gaps there for buffing. And then if you don't want to do a buff for whatever reason, I think Attack Smoke is really strong on most tanks. I think you could even do like Defense Smoke or something like that if you wanted him to rip through enemies faster. I think Defense Smoke is also good on like Legendary Ephraim, Brave Ephraim. I think it's good on a lot of units with high attack. And then for the seal, I think Attack +3 is probably his strongest seal, just going for that boost, especially if you're doing a Flame Segment build. I might run Speed +3 just to try and lean into the speed a little bit, try and avoid doubles. I think Close and Distant Defense are also really good, and Heavy Blade is really good because, again, synergy with the Flame Segment. But I don't think I would run Heavy Blade on any of the Ephraims if you're not leaning into the Flame Segment stuff. But yeah, as for team comps with him, he is a blue tank, which is really nice. He can soak up a lot of red hits for units, green units like Brave Ike, or even like Minerva if you like Minerva. Cherish. There's a lot of green units who really benefit, even if they have the high defense and can probably take a sword hit or two from just having someone who can soak that and really get in the way without it being too bad. Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you, Zoe. But yeah, so that's it for this video. If you guys liked it, be sure to do that YouTube shit down below. You know the drill. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one.